The explosion shattered the morning calm like a gunshot through glass. It was supposed to be a regular Thursday in the bustling old neighborhood of East Jerusalem. But for Malick Traoré, a 32-year-old nurse from Mali working for an international medical NGO, it became the day everything changed. Blood smeared the pavement. Smoke coiled into the hot summer air. Screams rang out from every direction. The sound of innocent people caught in yet another clash they had nothing to do with. Just moments before the blast, Malick had been kneeling beside a frightened child on the clinic steps, helping tie his shoelaces. That simple human act saved his life. The child ran inside as Malick lingered a moment longer, smiling. Then boom, the car parked just across the street burst into a fireball. Malick's ears rang like a church bell gone mad. His vision blurred, and all he could feel was heat and pressure. He staggered backward, his shoulder shredded with shrapnel, but somehow, incredibly alive. Around him, sirens began wailing. People shouted in Hebrew, Arabic, French, English. A swirl of chaos engulfed the street. Malick collapsed, unconscious. Before the second ambulance arrived, news of the bombing spread quickly, ricocheting across the globe in headlines and hashtags. But the story took on a political weight far greater than the body count when reports emerged that the attack had occurred just 2 blocks from a controversial military checkpoint, a checkpoint reinstated only days earlier under orders from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Anger boiled across the region. Protesters swarmed outside the Knesset, holding photos of the victims. International human rights observers demanded answers. And in the middle of the media storm was Malick Traoré, a quiet man who'd come to Israel not for politics or war, but to heal. When Malick awoke in the hospital, he couldn't feel his right arm. For a man who had used those hands to save hundreds of lives from displaced children in Gaza to elderly settlers with failing hearts, the weight of that loss was unbearable. "I came to help," he whispered to his doctor in French. "Not to become a symbol. But symbols aren't born by choice." As the world began to take sides in the ongoing conflict, Malick became an unlikely bridge, and an unwilling one. International journalists flooded the ward, asking for interviews. NGOs issued statements calling him a hero. Protesters in Tel Aviv carried signs with his name in bold, painted letters. But inside, Malick battled something darker than politics. Pain, guilt, and a creeping despair that maybe, just maybe, all his work had been in vain. What was the point of bandaging wounds that kept reopening? What was the point of caring in a place where hatred seemed to have no expiration date? Meanwhile, the political firestorm raged on. Under pressure from opposition parties and international allies, Netanyahu faced blistering criticism for his security policies. Leaked intelligence reports showed his administration had ignored specific warnings about the vulnerability of the checkpoint and the likely consequences. Netanyahu, defiant as ever, dismissed the outcry. "This was a terrorist act," he said at a press conference. "Israel has the right to protect its citizens. We will not apologize for that." But the public wasn't buying it. Not anymore. Back in the hospital, a moment came that would shift Malick's life forever. A mother, Palestinian, came to visit. She held her daughter's hand, the same child whose shoelaces Malick had tied. She brought no cameras, no reporters, just a loaf of warm bread and a hand-knitted scarf. "You saved her," the mother said in soft, broken French. "I wish I could save you too," Malick wept. Not because of the pain, not even because of the loss, but because for the first time since the explosion, someone looked at him, not as a martyr or political pawn, but simply as a man. A man who had done something kind, something human, in a place where humanity was always the first casualty. In the months that followed, Malick began to heal, not just physically, but emotionally. With intense rehab and support, he regained partial use of his arm. Enough to teach, enough to guide. He could no longer perform surgery, but he began training local medics in emergency response techniques. Jewish, Muslim, Christian, it didn't matter who showed up. They learned together, worked together, bled together. Malick's clinic became a quiet haven, not a headline, not a hashtag. A place where wounds were treated, and maybe, Just maybe, so were hearts. Netanyahu's administration eventually crumbled under the weight of the scandal, prompting snap elections. He left office amid chants and cheers, but also the sobering reality that leadership without accountability leaves more scars than bombs. On the one-year anniversary of the attack, Malick stood outside the rebuilt clinic. His hand rested gently on the shoulder of the girl he'd saved, now taller, wearing a new pair of shoes with laces neatly tied. A journalist approached him with a microphone. "Do you think peace is possible here?" she asked. Malick didn't answer right away. He looked up at the bright sky over Jerusalem, the muezzin's call echoing faintly against the distant bells of a church tower. "Peace isn't a place," he finally said. "It's a choice. And it's one we have to make every single day, even when the world gives us every reason not to." He turned away, walking slowly down the street that had once nearly ended. His life now alive again with laughter, foot traffic, the hum of rebuilding. In a world fractured by war, fear, and politics, sometimes the quiet courage of one heart can begin to mend 1,000 others. Let that be the story we remember. Let that be the future we choose.